Just wanted to share a few thoughts about the Yontif Shavous. So I came across two interesting things in the Shem Shmuel. I just figured I wanted to share with the Olam. So he starts off like this. I'll read you the exact lotion. Mechias Amalek koydem Matan Torah. Before Matan Torah, we have to be mekayim the mitzvah of getting rid of Amalek. So he brings from his father David Nezer that by Matan Torah, Sheba Asher Oz Konu Midas Hayira Al Yedei Shiro V'Shamu. Klal Yisrael was kind of the midah of Yira Al Yedei that they saw and they heard. Al Yedei what they saw and they heard by Har Sinai. Oid klipas Amalek kayamis b'toikva. Afal Pikain, the klipa of Amalek was still very, very strong against them. Shehi klipas kabon lechatzifin, which is the klipa of the chutzpah de gedog, so to speak. There's a tremendous chutzpah and ha'oza that Amalek has, klape HaKadosh Baruch Hu and klape Klal Yisrael. Gam zelei hayamoil. Even with the being mekabel the Torah, wouldn't have helped against us, against this madrega. Ad kan me'avnei nezer. The Shem Shmuel's Ma'aseh that the Gemara says in Bechoros, the fascinating Gemara there in Bechoros in the Sabbath Beituna, which is a whole sugil of Neatzmai to learn and to really understand what Chazal are trying to do over there. But the Gemara says in Bechoros Daf Ches that the Yimei Ibure Shel Kelev is Chamishim Yom Kenegda Be'ilan Te'ena, that a dog is pregnant for 50 days, and keneged that the Te'ena tree, the fig tree, lasts, it takes 50 days for the pears to grow. And it's just interesting because the Ta'ena we're going to see was the Chet of Eitz Hadas. And the Kelev is interesting because the Ramban uses a lotion by the Yetzer Hara before the Chet of Eitz Hadas was Kelev Hamnabeach Bachutz. There wasn't an internal Yetzer Hara, it was an external Yetzer Hara. So this is what he says, Hu Eitz Hadas Tover Magia ad Shara Chamishim. This idea goes until the Shar HaChamishim. Ubaynirm is a klipas Haman, Hamin Ha'etz. That's where the idea of Haman comes from, Hamin Ha'etz, which is a big story in Purim, which is discussed at length in all the Svarim. Hainu shekoicha he kol kach god b'klipa ad Shar Hanun nasa etz Chamishim. So the idea of why Haman made an eitz of Chamishim Amma was connected the Shar HaChamishim, the Chamishim Shari Bina, and V'zesh Ramzu Kalev l'Chamishim Yom l'Gidulai. And this is the concept that the Gemara mentions in the Bechoros, that a Kelev takes 50 days for him to grow, to turn into an actual Kelev. The Torah is the Eitz HaChaim, the tree of life, and addresses b'mem tes panim. There's 49 ways of understanding the Torah. That's the way we get to the Shar Hanun, which is the highest level. So the Gemara says that Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't zeicha to. Maybe Shlomo Melech was. Al-kain hayu koiche shel Amalek l'hafil ara Torah. Therefore, it's the koyach of Amalek to be able to darken, so to speak, the light of the Torah. And in order to be able to properly accept the Torah, that's why we need to get rid of it. Because the one koyach in the world that has a koyach to stand up against the Torah, that's a koyach of Amalek. And we know from the Gemara, it's actually the Gemara Bechoros also, that they were in Refidim, Sharafi Yudayim in Torah. And once they were Rafi Yudayim in Torah, so then there was a chance for Amalek to come. Amalek maybe was the one that created this Rifin Yadayim, this Shvach kind of learning, but the point is really that the only koyach keneged the Torah really is this chutzpah of Amalek. And it's shaykh to understand this because the Torah is called Oiz, and Yisrael are Azim Shabu'umis, and the Azim of the Behemoths are Kelev, like the Gemara says in Be'ah. So it's Zelu Mazeh. I just want to point out another very interesting thing also, that it says by Bilam. Bilam was the Navi of the Ummah Olam, and the question was that where did he get these koiches from? So we know already he was found in Mitzrayim by Paroi. He was the one that said to kill the Yidden. So Yisroi told Paroi it's not a good idea. So he ran away. Eoiv Sheshasak was Nidim B'Yisurim. But Bilam, he said to kill the Jews. We know what happened to him. Fine. The point was that where did he get his koiches from? So the Alkut Ruveni brings from the Mekubalim that he went to the Hari HaChoshech and he spent 50 days in the Hari HaChoshech. It's very interesting to correlate or contrast the difference between Bilam and Klal Yisrael. He spent 50 days in the Hari HaChoshech with Kishuv being Maktik Teres, like it says over there, to the Koyach HaTumah of the world, to be able to generate his Koyach HaTumah, to be able to be Misnaged to Klal Yisrael. Mashenk and Klal Yisrael works 49 days also on a mountain to be Mikabel the Torah, which was the greatest Hashras HaShechina that ever happened in the history of the world. So that's about the idea of Amalek and Matan Torah. There's a very interesting idea that we could tell over here, that David Amalek's Yartzeit is on Shavous, that we know, and the Pais can bring that he was also born on Shavous because HaKadosh Baruch was Mamalish Neseim Shel Tzadikim. So David Amalek L'chayr plays a big role over here also. And it's very interesting because the Megala Amukah speaks this out. The Megala Amukah says big arichas, we can't get into the whole story now. But in Oifen Kuf Mem, the Megala Amukah speaks out that David Amalek Hayalochim Kineged Amalek Shul Klipas Kalev. There was a big avodah that David Amalek had to go against the fight against the Klipa of Kalev. It's interesting because the Mekabalim talk that the concept of Esav and the concept of Yishmael, when they get together, they create this concept of a Kalev. So it's really a combination of the two strongest kaiches, is to create this Kalev, which is, we're understanding over here, is Amalek. And when David Amalek was installed on Shavous, so David Amalek wanted to be Machnia Legamri, to entirely destroy the Klipa of the Kalev. And it was a great time to do this. So Shlomo HaMelech asked us in Hedron, the Gemara Shabbos tells us on Daf Lamed, that he asked, Abba Mesu Klavim Shel Abba Re'evim. He said, my father is dead. David Amalek passed away in Shavous while he was learning. And the Klavim Shel Beis Abba, the dogs of David Amalek, were hungry. It's interesting, Bechlal, that David Amalek had dogs. He was a shepherd. Even beforehand, he had dogs with him when he was a shepherd, Mistama, even though he himself fended off all the animals that tried to hurt the sheep. And I mean, he had dogs there, Hamelech, which is interesting because the Gemara in Brachas says that David Amalek had a simon when Chatzos was. He had a kinor hayatala l'mayla memitatz shel David, and came shegir Chatzos Laila hayamenashev, and he would wake up and he would be Isaac B'Torah. The question is, which is a little bit interesting, because the Gemara says that by the Mishmars Gimel Mishmars Hava Alayla, the Emsoisa, which is the middle of the middle Mishmar, which would be at Chatzos Mamish, the Klavim Tzayakim. The Klavim start to scream. So the Mefarshim over there ask, why did David need to have the simon of the Kinar if l'chayra the Klavim Tzayakim? Well, if what we're understanding now, it makes a lot of sense why he wouldn't rely on the Klavim. David HaMelech doesn't want to rely on the Klavim, he wants to rely on the Kinar which the Svarim speak out is Oisies Chavav Ner Hashem Mishmasad. Chavav obviously is being Ramas to Shem Havaya, and the Klavim Tzayakim, that's a Kaiches Atuma that are trying to be misnagged to the Torah of David HaMelech, not just to the Torah of David HaMelech, but to the Torah of all Klal Yisrael. These hamelech tzifin, they don't want to allow any Torah to get learned. They don't want any kedusha to happen. They're trying to get rid of, to share all of this. And he says like this, that the Klipas Amalek and the Kelev were trying very hard to be misgaber on David HaMelech. But the thing was that David HaMelech was able to be misgaber on it, and he was nifter on Shavuos, which is by the 50th day, which is the Sharach HaMishim. And we know that David Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayim. We said it by Kiddush Levana. Why Dafka by Kiddush Levana? As the Gemara uses, when they were not allowed to write the Torah to each other, the Romans would intercept the letters. So they asked the Shaila by Kiddush Levana, so he writes back David Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayim, as I stated in Gemara. So what's the understanding of this? The Levana doesn't have any or from itself. All the or that the Levana has comes from the Or Chama. So too David HaMelech didn't have any life from himself. His life was given to him from Adam Rishon, 70 years, or from the Avos. Some Mefarshim understand that it was a tziruf of both of them, aside from the Avos, aside from David HaMelech. And David HaMelech is a concept of Malchus that doesn't have anything. The Lesel Megamrei Klum doesn't have anything of his own. He all has to have everything from HaKadosh Baruch Hu Alein directly. And we find many times in the Tehillim David HaMelech standing up Keneged the Klavim, Atzilo Mecharev Nafshi Miyad Kelev Yichidasi, save my neshama from the Klavim. So Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz in Yaros Davash explains that why Shlomo HaMelech sent a Sanhedrin, sent a question to Sanhedrin that Abba Meis Mutal Bachamo Klavim Shal Beis Aver Re'evim, and they told him to cut a piece of nevela and put it in front of the Klavim and leave your father there, and place a kikar or tzinok on David HaMelech to be able to move him. It's interesting. It's interesting because there's a svar in the Gemara over there that if he's wearing clothing, especially a chashuv big day malchus, that you should be able to be metaltal the mace agav the clothing. So the question was why at this point, what was Shlomo Melech bothered by that he couldn't use this the clothing. But the Rebbe Yonason explains al Piri Gemara Baba Kama Daf Samach HaMabez that when the Malach HaMavis is Bala ear, the Klavim Beichim. The Klavim start crying. The Klavim have this hergish they could feel and they could sense when the Malach HaMavis is Bala ear. So Shteit in Chazal that the Malach HaMavis gives 3 tipis in Adam. One of them is he's Neitel Nishmasai, takes his neshama. The second tipa is what he's memesim with, and the third one is his masriach his gufa, he makes his guf rat. So the chacham may enter Shlomo Melech that he should put food in front of the klavim. So if they're quiet, it's a simon that the reason why they were making noise is because they were hungry. So if they were hungry and they're not running after the mace, so then it's mavur that David HaMelech was mace al yidei neshika, and he's not going to be masriach. So if he's not going to be masriach, so then you don't have to move him. So it's Haraya, the Rebbe Yonason is learning that the reason why he says to put it in front of the klavim, because normally the klavim would go after the mace. But if you put a nevela there, then it's just because the klavim are hungry. Why the klavim say, I come over here? Maybe there's a malach hamaves here. But if David HaMelech was mace b'misas neshikus, then there's no malach hamaves. So if there's no malach hamaves, so that's a rise that David HaMelech was mace b'neshika. That's the pashtus. I just felt that this was an interesting idea for Shavous that we should share with the Olam.